Technique of coaching, effective demonstration. Effective demonstration is a technique used by coaches to help improve the performance of a player. The demonstration helps to increase the player's understanding of a skill by providing an accurate model to learn from. Sometimes this is because verbal description isn't always enough for the players to understand, so it's more effective to let them visualize a certain skill, and then they know what they have to do. It is the coach's responsibility to provide an explanation and a demonstration so they can learn and practice from a role model. The coach must consider a few things before doing the demonstration. Why the skill is important, how the skill will be demonstrated, what equipment is needed, where the demonstration will take place, and when will the demonstration take place. The first point, why the skill is important, is to make sure they understand the importance of the skill. How will the skill be demonstrated? Point 2. You need to select an appropriate method of teaching the skill, taking into account the type of skill, the experience and ability of the players. Sometimes it is wise to demonstrate the whole skill to show the players, then demonstrate whole at different angles to make sure everyone can see and to make sure it's broken down into different sections so they can understand different points of the technique. Sometimes overloading performance with an in-depth explanation could decrease concentration, so emphasising 2 or 3 coaching points of this skill will keep their concentration and to emphasise important parts of the skill. At the start, the coach will need to plan what equipment is needed. This helps because it means it is available and ready to use when the time comes, so everything is organised. So for example, a more advanced coach could use video software, so they will need to make sure everything is set up ready to press play before you start the session. Point 4. Where will the skills be demonstrated? Planning your demonstration, you need to take into account possible distractions of your players that will decrease concentration. So the position of where you'll do the demonstration, so sunlight, bright lights, players in the background, things like that. And you need to plan an appropriate formation. A common and effective formation is a semicircle with the coach and demonstrator standing in the middle, so everyone can see. Point 5. When will the demonstration take place? Demonstrations should be when they are learning a new skill, so it should take place early in the training session while the players' minds and bodies are relatively fresh, so they understand everything and then they can put it into practice in the training session. Demonstration can also be used when giving feedback or to remind players of a previously learned skill. It can also be used to repeat the demonstration at the end of the training so the players can be reminded of what they have to work on whilst away. Elite versus non-elite coaches. Elite coaches will have more experience. This means they are enabling them to know more about the demonstration when the demonstrations should be introduced, etc., meaning they will know from experience when is best. They'll have more knowledge of the sport, so put more detail and more specific skill demonstrations into the training sessions, which will impact the performers. They will have better equipment, so as said before, analysis videos, which will allow their players to watch back the videos. And they will also have better abilities to plan. this is linking with experience as well, because it will mean they'll be able to judge the abilities of their own players that they're training, and they can plan how long to spend and develop their skill and how much depth they need to go into demonstration according to each group. Non-elite coaches will do the same demonstration as the elite coaches would do in the same way, but they'll have less experience, well, normally, because they might not have coached as many abilities and won't have as much experience on doing the actual demonstration and how to do the technique. They'll have less knowledge of what detail needs to go into the demonstration and how effective demonstrations are, meaning that they won't know as much as how, like, the coaching points that will need to go in that will affect the players. They'll have less equipment normally, because non-elite coaches and performers don't usually have the high-tech equipment, meaning it sometimes can't be as specific. An example of this, as above said, the analysis video software. This could mean that it doesn't give a true representation of their last performance, meaning they can't watch back, or meaning they can't watch someone else because they haven't got someone to demonstrate the skill, and the skill might be a complex skill, meaning that if there isn't a demonstration, then they might not be able to understand it with just a verbal explanation, and their coach might not be able to do it themselves. They'll have a poorer ability to plan around abilities. This also links with experience. If the coaches plan around certain skills and demonstrations in the session, and the group don't understand or can't get to grips with the skill, then they'll push back each activity, which will push the session along. The more experience you have, the better you will be at adapting around this, and you'll have to make the demonstration simpler for lower abilities and people that won't be able to pick up the description. Team versus individuals. Using effective demonstration benefits both team and individual sports for different reasons. When the coach is coaching teams, it benefits a large group of people. If everyone is watching, that meaning everyone can get an understanding in a short space of time. However, if the skill is a little more advanced and complex, then the coach may need to go around to each and every one of the players at one time to correct their technique, which could be more time consuming as they have to give everyone an understanding. However, in an individual sport, the coach or demonstrator will only be demonstrating to one person and could potentially go into more depth because there is only one person, and you can interact with the person to see if they understand, meaning they get their own opinion on the demonstration, which could impact the coach more because they know what they're talking about with future references. Is it effective in all sports? Effective demonstration doesn't really suit all sports from a coach's point of view, because sometimes it's not possible to demonstrate. This is because of their experience, their own experience in the performance. Their personal performance abilities might not be good enough, and if you need to give feedback quickly, it might not be the correct technique to use because you can't actually deliver the technique. A sport that would benefit from this is artistic sports like synchronized swimming and gymnastics. With the demonstration instead of verbal explanation, so they can find out the different moves firsthand and are able to ask questions about their routine. However, if it could be more difficult, because the coach may not always be able to perform the moves, therefore they'll have to get someone in to demonstrate, which involves more organisation and skill. In comparison, in popular sports like football, netball, hockey, rugby, There are a lot more experienced coaches and are likely to have their own personal performance abilities higher, which means they are able to demonstrate the skill themselves with the right technique. If they demonstrated it themselves with the wrong technique, then the coaching technique of effective demonstration would not be beneficial because they'd be coaching the people the wrong skill. Some coaching will develop knowledge, so they are able to do effective demonstrations within their sessions if they need a lot of knowledge to execute the coaching skill. If they don't have a lot of knowledge, then they won't give the right coaching points. If it isn't done in the right way, then it could affect the players in a bad way because they are following a role model. And if the role model isn't demonstrating it right or doesn't have enough knowledge, then they won't know how to use it.